This phone right here, the Realme 10 Pro Plus 5G, kind of the dark horse of 2022. So I actually got this phone a couple of weeks ago and I didn't have time to evaluate it before the end of the year because I suffered my eye injury and I wasn't using a whole lot of phone stuff for a period of time. So I was really surprised because I had seen that, I think it was MKBHD and his smartphone camera stuff. This was one of the phones that popped up on there, and people actually rated it very highly, like very close in comparison, especially value wise and great camera for like even the Pixel 6a. So I was like, hey, I've got this phone. Let me spend some time with it. And of course, I was going to do that anyway, but I like it. I like the phone quite a bit, and it's got one of the coolest designs that I've seen on a phone. It's got like this fractal light pattern in here underneath the clear coat, and then it has almost like this glittery kind of look to it as well. It's like a double whammy of cool stuff. It's very, very shiny, and it's also super, super sleek. It's got a curved edge on it, 1080p display. It's got an OLED, 120 hertz refresh rate. Like, they seriously put some work into this. This right here, I think what I'll call this is the Samsung Galaxy A53 killer. Yes, that's a good name for it, because it's basically what the A53 should have been, but it's from another brand called Realme, and it's better in pretty much every way, and it's powered by the Mediatek Dimensity 1080. And it's funny, it's easy for me to remember that one because, well, I mean, 1080p, so it makes a lot of sense, but it does have a 1080p display. It's not like a watered down chump change 720p, none of that stuff. Realme did a great job here. They put a great panel. It's got the two cameras set up here on the back. It's really kind of weird though, because, well, it's got three in there. It's got a 108 megapixel camera, and then it's got an 8 megapixel ultra wide and a 2 megapixel macro. So I guess they decided to throw it in there, whatever. It takes okay photos, and I'll show you some more color samples here, our camera samples in a minute, but a lot of interesting design choices because it's got 67 watt charging, it's got a 5,000 milliamp battery, and it's just uncanny to me how they put a 5,000 milliamp battery in this such slender phone. And it's a very sleek, very lightweight. It's got stereo speakers on it, which is another positive. And it doesn't have wireless charging. It doesn't have reverse wireless charging, but at 67 watts, it charges pretty darn fast. And it has the charger in the box. So that's also another bonus. It also has, ta-da, has a clear case in the box, and it comes with a screen protector pre-installed. So a lot of interesting things here, especially for an MSRP. It starts off at $269. Now, they have global versions of these phones, not really marketed in the US. I've tried it with my SIM card. I put a T-Mobile SIM card in here. I'm not able to get 5G. Even though it is a 5G phone, this is not surprising to me. LTE seems to be okay, but it's one of those things where if you're here in the United States, then yeah, 5G is probably not going to be in the cards for you. But the build quality seems pretty darn good. I've been impressed with the build quality. The buttons are nice. You know what it reminds me of? The LG Velvet. It reminds me of a thinner LG Velvet that they kind of took some keynotes from LG and designed this thing. If you told me this was an LG phone, I would probably believe you. But except it has a different version. It doesn't have LG's UI. Thank goodness it doesn't have their software. It's running Android 13, and it's using Realme 4.0, which is their skin, their version of it. And I think it works pretty good. It's also got a pretty decent fingerprint sensor in here. An optical one, works out nice. It has a little bit of a graphic to it. And it's very reliable. And that's nice because you kind of expect fingerprint scanners to be reliable. This isn't like what we ran into with the Pixel 6 this last year. And I think it's even better than the one on the Pixel 7, which perplexes me because it's not hard to get a fingerprint sensor right. And of course, the Pixel 7 is a much better fingerprint sensor than last year's Pixel 6. But it could be better. It's not bad, but it's not great. And there are some great optical fingerprint sensors out there. OnePlus has always been good at it, and they do a good job with this one. It's also got basic facial scanning if you want to use that as well. So you're fully loaded on the biometrics here, and you got a 16 megapixel front-facing selfie camera capable of taking some pretty decent photos. I was really surprised because whenever I got this phone, I was like, all right, the kind of end of year launch. I didn't expect a lot of greatness from it, and then I got in and started using it and seeing some of the things, and just it really has just been a big surprise. So it has the Mediatek Dimensity 1080, and Mediatek makes some great chips. They've been making great chips, especially since the Dimensity series. Hold on, I've got one right here. There we go. So this is the Dimensity 9200. This is their latest and greatest flagship chip for 2022, 2023, going into 2023. And this is what's inside your phone. Like, this little processor does everything. The modem, the GPU for the graphics, all that stuff. This one even does ray tracing. Now, the 1080 in here doesn't do ray tracing, but they've come a long way. This is not like the old Mediatek Helio series, the G series, the G90, 91. It works very well, and it's on par with the Snapdragon 778. So you get a good balance here between power and also sophistication. Of course, you can record in the 4K. It's got plenty of power. You can play most games on here. It's not a gaming phone, but you can handily play quite a bit of games on here. And it's great for doing other things too, because you get a big, beautiful 6.7-inch screen. Like, where it's crazy to me, and this is where I talk about like Pixel and I talk about value a lot, because the phones that are coming up, they're not your old budget phones of yesteryear. This is a seriously good platform that we've got here. And of course, it starts off with 6 gigs of RAM, but they have an 8 gig and a 12 gig option, and also starts off at 128. So I have the 12 gig and 256 option here, but yeah, I think you'd probably be perfectly fine with the 128 and 6. I don't really see that you need 12 here. And you can also, they've got a virtual RAM sitting in here. So mine is the 12 plus 4, so it gives you a total of up to 16 gigs of available RAM. You really don't have the horsepower and the rest of the complementary skill set to take advantage of that, because I don't really see this as a huge multitasking phone, but it's there if you need it. So you've got plenty of power, plenty of storage, no expandable storage, no headphone jack, which I think that's pretty much par for the course nowadays, especially in such a small, lightweight, and thin phone. And again, it's beautiful. This is a beautiful looking phone. I had to steal it away from my wife, even though she doesn't review phones. As soon as I took it out of the box, she was like, "Oh my gosh, this is the best looking thing ever." It's got the glitter look to it. It's got the fractal kind of with the lighting effect to it. The cameras look nice and sleek. It's a very complimentary and beautiful looking phone. It's got good performance, and I mean, what else can you ask for? I mean, all that stuff under $300 is a heck of a deal. It may not be supported for 5 years, but you're going to get a couple years of support out of it. You got Android 13 out of the box, which is perfectly good, and the Realme UI is actually pretty darn good. I like it quite a bit. There is a little bit of bloatware installed on it, so whenever you get it, there's going to be some things that you want to. They're kind of shaded out. I don't have them downloading, but I just wanted to leave the icons there so you could get a feel for it. There is some bloatware. You can get rid of most of it, but otherwise, real sleek, nice. The minimal bezels on here, nice little cutout peephole design for the selfie camera up top there. And I like the screen. Like 120 hertz refresh rate is super, super nice. And this is when I get back to calling it like the A53 killer. The A53 came in and it was priced a little bit more than I thought it should have been. And the Exynos chipset that powers that phone sucks. Like, it is not good. It's a slow, janky, jittery phone that really lags very, very easily. This one doesn't. And this is where Realme did things right that Samsung went wrong. Samsung tried to build a phone that had decent cameras and that had a beautiful display, and then thought people would gloss over the fact that it had like 2 horsepower. Like, it's not good. It's like an old Chevy. What was it? The Geo Metro. Yeah, basically it's like. So you get the A53 and it's got a really nice screen, and it's got like a 3-cylinder Geo Metro engine in it, and it's just terrible if you remember the Geo Metro. Tiny, tiny little car. But this one has the horsepower to do all the things that it needs to do, plus pretty decent speakers, good for making phone calls. I wish that the 5G worked here in the US, and the camera's pretty good here. Here, let's look at the camera samples. So I went out and I took some, and you can see here, I can see why people have been talking about this and giving it good marks, because the colors are good, the bokeh on here is pretty good. I mean, it's pretty darn good. It's not a $1,000 quality camera, but I mean, shoot, if you look at this and you say, hey, this phone's under $300, I think that you really do a good job turning some heads, because it's really, really an impressive little camera setup. So all in all, I've been really impressed with it. I think that Realme did a good job here. And like I said, it's 108 megapixel camera. You can do some stuff. It even zooms out to 30 times. Not that it looks that great at 30 times zoom, but either way, I'm going to go ahead and wrap this one up. I think that it's a solid phone. I like Realme. They've done a good job with this one. The only problem I have with mine is the haptics. The haptics are, mine aren't working. So hopefully yours work. I think mine was just defective out of the box. Maybe there's something wrong with the motor. I've tried everything. I've tried different keyboards. I've tried all sorts of stuff. And I talked to a buddy of mine, and his haptics work. He has the phone as well and reviewed it previously. So I think mine was just a dud out of the box in that regard, but the typing experience, even without it, is actually pretty good. I've been enjoying typing on it. I was typing up a storm the last couple of days, and there you have it. The Realme 10 Pro Plus 5G, solid little phone. And I think if you're interested, it's a pretty darn good contender, especially for only a couple $100. So that's all I got. If you have any questions or comments, and please go down in the comment section. I will get back with you. If you enjoyed the video, please hit the like and the subscribe button and the little notification bell if you want updates when new videos come out. And as always, thanks for being here. I appreciate you watching, and I'll see you guys next time.